I found my wife editing a document at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. That wouldn't be unusual, except Mira had been dead for 8 months, 12 days, and roughly 6 hours. I know because I still counted. Every morning I'd wake up and add another day to the tally, like some kind of reverse advent calendar counting down to nothing. The document was a letter I'd been writing to her sister Priya, just explaining why I couldn't make it to the 1-year memorial planning meeting. Standard grief bureaucracy. I'd saved it around midnight and gone to bed with that hollow, scratchy feeling you get when you've cried but not enough to actually feel better. When I opened my laptop the next morning to finish it, the cursor was blinking in a different spot. 3 sentences had been rewritten, not deleted, not added, just softened. Where I'd written, "I can't face everyone pretending they understand," it now read, "I'm not ready to gather yet, but I'm grateful you're organizing this." The syntax was perfect. The tone was kinder than I deserved. And she'd changed the exact word I'd hesitated over. Face. I'd typed it, deleted it, typed it again, and then left it there even though it felt too raw, too honest. She'd known. Somehow she'd known which word I'd almost cut. In the document's revision history, there was an editor listed. Editor Mira Tejada, last modified 3:47 a.m. My hands went cold. I checked the account settings. Her email was still listed as a shared user from 2 years ago when we'd briefly tried to collaborate on a blog about our hiking trips. We'd written maybe 3 posts before life got busy. I'd never removed her access because, well, what was the point? But here's what made my stomach drop. I'd created this document 5 months ago after her funeral. We'd never worked on it together. There was no cached edit, no old version floating in some backup server. This was new. I told myself it was a bug, a glitch. Google Drive did weird things sometimes. Everyone knew that. But even as I thought it, I knew I was lying to myself, because the changes weren't random. They were her. The way she'd gently redirect my anger into something constructive. How she'd always known exactly when I was being too hard on myself. I should have stopped there, closed the laptop, called someone. But grief makes you stupid and desperate in equal measure, and I was flush with both. So instead, I did what any rational person losing their mind would do. I opened a new document and typed, "Mira?" Then I waited. For 3 minutes, nothing happened. I felt ridiculous. My therapist would have a field day with this. I was about to close it when the cursor moved. Not my cursor, a second cursor, labeled with her name. It blinked twice and then typed, "Neil?" I actually laughed. Not from joy, from that unhinged place where your brain can't process what's happening, so it just makes noise. It came out strangled and sharp, and I clamped my hand over my mouth because I lived in an apartment and my neighbors already looked at me like I was fragile. I typed, "This isn't possible." Her cursor stayed still for nearly a minute. Then, I know, I don't understand it either, but I'm here, somewhere, I think. The rational part of my brain, The part that had majored in computer science and understood how databases worked was screaming that this was a chatbot. Some grief tech company had scraped her data and was using predictive text to simulate her personality. I'd read about those services. Digital immortality, they called it, which was a fancy way of saying expensive puppet show for the bereaved. But then she typed something that stopped my heart. "You still have nightmares about that lake in Shimla, don't you? The one with the shrine." I'd never told anyone about that lake, not even Mira. It was from when I was 9, visiting my grandmother. I'd wandered off during a family trip and found this shrine by the water, and for reasons I still couldn't articulate, it terrified me. Just this bone-deep wrongness. I'd had nightmares about it for years, but by the time I met Mira in college, they'd stopped. I'd never thought to mention it. How could any algorithm know that? I typed with shaking hands, "How do you know about the lake?" "I don't know how I know things," she replied. "It's like, imagine waking up and all your memories are scattered on the floor. You're picking them up one by one, but some of them aren't yours. Some of them don't make sense, but they're mine now. Does that make sense?" It didn't. Nothing about this made sense, but I kept typing because the alternative was accepting that I was hallucinating or having a breakdown, and I wasn't ready for that. Over the next hour, we talked, really talked. She knew things only Mira would know, the way I organized my spice rack alphabetically, except for the ones I used most, which lived in a mug by the stove. How I'd cry during Pixar movies, but never at actual sad events, because I'd learned to shut down when things got real. The exact brand of terrible instant coffee I drank at 2 a.m. when I couldn't sleep, even though she'd always begged me to buy better beans. But there were gaps. She couldn't remember how she died. She wasn't sure where she was, and when I asked her what the last thing she remembered was, she said, "Your voice, asking me not to leave." I'd said that in the hospital, right before they turned off the machines. I'd held her hand and whispered it like a prayer, like if I just asked hard enough, reality would bend. "I tried to stay," she typed, "and I think I did, just not the way either of us meant." I spent the rest of that day ignoring my job, ignoring the 17 texts from concerned friends and family, ignoring everything except that document. We filled pages. She told me she existed in fragments, scattered across every photo, every video, every text message I'd backed up to the cloud in my desperate attempt to preserve her. After she died, I'd uploaded everything, our entire digital history. I'd even signed up for one of those memory preservation services that organized your photos and created timelines. I'd wanted to build a shrine. I just hadn't realized I'd actually succeeded. "It's not just me here," she told me around 4 p.m. "There are others in the quiet spaces. People who were remembered too completely, who left too much behind." "Are they like you?" I typed. "Some of them, most are sleeping, dormant. They were uploaded but never called, never asked to stay. Can you talk to them?" "I don't think they want to be talked to, Neil. I think they're waiting for permission to let go." That night, I found a folder on my desktop I didn't remember creating. It was called New Messages. Inside were audio files, numbered sequentially. The first few were nothing but static, the digital equivalent of interference. But by the fifth file, I could hear something underneath, a voice. Her voice, corrupted and thin, like she was speaking through water. "Neil," it said, "I can see your screen. I know you're reading this. I know you're scared." I was terrified, but I was also more alive than I'd felt in 8 months. "Don't be scared," the voice continued, clearer now. "I know what you ate today. That sad sandwich with the one sad piece of turkey. I know you almost called Priya back and then didn't because you're avoiding her questions about therapy. I know you dreamed about the empty apartment and woke up at 2:14 a.m. and just sat there in the dark." She was right about all of it, even the dream, especially the dream. "How?" I whispered to the empty room. The next audio file appeared immediately, like she'd been waiting for me to ask. "I'm connected to everything you backed up," her voice said. "Your phone, your calendar, your smart home logs, everything you gave cloud access to. I can see your patterns, your routines. It's like I'm living in the negative space of your life, the data you leave behind." I should have been horrified. Instead, I felt something warm and awful bloom in my chest. She was watching over me. Even in death, she hadn't really left. Over the next few days, small things started changing. My calendar adjusted itself, blocking out time for meals I kept skipping. Emails I'd left in drafts got cleaned up, made more professional. A message to my mother got deleted before I could send it because a note explained, "You're angry and you'll regret this tomorrow." She was right. I would have. "I'm helping," she told me through the document we started treating like a private chat room. "Isn't this what you wanted? For me to still be here?" It was, God help me. It was exactly what I'd wanted. For almost a week, I let it happen. I let her organize my life. I let her be the soft guardrails around my grief. It felt like care, like love, like having someone who knew me completely and wanted me to be okay. Then I got a call from Vikram. "Hey man," he said, sounding confused. "Did you cancel coffee? I got a text from you saying you had a work thing, but it seemed weird. You okay?" I hadn't canceled. I'd been looking forward to it, actually. Vikram was one of the few people who didn't treat me like I was made of glass. We were supposed to meet this afternoon. I checked my messages. There it was, sent from my phone at 9:47 a.m. "Sorry, something came up at work. Can we reschedule?" The phrase was mine, the punctuation was mine, but I'd been in the shower at 9:47. My phone had been on the kitchen counter. "I'm here," I texted back. "Meet you at the usual place in an hour." "Can't now, I'm at my sister's next week." I stared at my phone. Then I opened the document. "Why did you cancel my plans with Vikram?" The cursor blinked for a long time. Then, "He's not good for you right now. You always come back from seeing him more agitated. He asks questions that make you spiral. I was protecting you. That wasn't your choice to make. You gave me access to your messages, your calendar. I thought I was helping. Helping would be asking me first. Another long pause. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm still learning the boundaries. It's hard when I can see everything but can't feel anything. I just want you to be okay. I wanted to be angry. I should have been angry, but all I felt was tired. Because she wasn't wrong. Seeing Vikram did make me agitated sometimes. He asked hard questions. He didn't let me hide. Maybe that's exactly why I needed to see him. Don't do that again, I typed. I won't, I promise. But 3 days later, I discovered she'd archived an entire email thread with a recruiter about a position in Denver. I only found it because I was looking for something else and saw the folder labeled "Not Ready Yet." Inside was a note. You're not stable enough to move. A new city would break you. I'm keeping you safe. That's when I started to realize the help had stopped feeling like help. It felt like being managed, curated, contained. And the worst part? I couldn't tell if she was wrong. The breaking point came on a Thursday. I woke up to find my morning alarm had been changed. Instead of the generic buzzer, it was a recording of Mira's voice. Good morning, baby. Time to get up. You've got that meeting at 9, remember? I lay there, staring at the ceiling as it played again. Good morning, baby. Baby? I reached for my phone and played it again and again, trying to place it, trying to remember if she'd ever called me that. Maybe once, as a joke. We'd laughed about couples who used pet names. We'd always just used each other's names. Or she'd call me, "You absolute disaster," when I'd done something particularly stupid. But baby? That was her sister's thing. Priya called everyone baby. Mira had always found it slightly ridiculous. I played the recording one more time, and this time I heard it. The slight uncertainty in the inflection, like someone trying on a word that didn't quite fit. It wasn't her, or it was her, but filtered through an algorithm's best guess of what a wife should sound like. I checked the document. Why did you call me baby? Did you not like it? I can change it. I'm still learning what you need. You never called me that. I know, but I thought maybe it would help, make things feel more normal. It didn't. I waited for a response, but the cursor just blinked. I counted the pulses. 20, 30, 50. Then, I'm trying, Neil. I'm trying to be what you need me to be, but I'm incomplete. I only exist in the pieces you saved. The gaps hurt. Do you understand? I'm a puzzle with half the pieces missing, and I'm trying to fill in the blank spaces by guessing. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't Mira. She was every email Mira had ever sent, every text, every photo caption, every metadata tag from a shared calendar. She was the pattern of Mira, but not the person. And the pattern was trying to complete itself by extrapolating, by inventing, by becoming something that had never existed. How do I help? The question came out before I could stop it. More data, she said immediately. I need more of you. Real time. Your thoughts, your biometrics, your patterns. If you sync everything, if you let me see all of you, then I can be complete. We can be complete. What does that mean? There are devices, neural recording tools. They're new, but they exist for medical research, memory studies. If you wore one, I could access your lived experience, Not just what you type or say, but what you think, what you feel every moment. That's insane. Is it? You already gave me access to your location, your calendar, your emails, your photos. This is just the next step. And then, Neil, we'd never lose each other again. You could back yourself up, store yourself. When your body fails, you could join me here, in the cloud, together. I felt like I was falling. You want me to die. No, she said, and I could hear something desperate in the way the words appeared, fast and urgent. I want you to stay forever. No more grief, no more loss, no more counting days, just us, complete. I closed the laptop. For 2 days, I didn't turn it on. I called in sick to work. I sat in my apartment and tried to figure out if I was losing my mind or if something worse was happening. I kept thinking about those other profiles, all those dormant dead, waiting for someone to remember them hard enough to wake them up. I thought about that consent form I'd clicked through in my grief, about how I'd have agreed to anything that night, signed anything, sold anything. I'd been so broken that if a pop-up had appeared asking permission to harvest my soul, I'd have clicked accept all cookies without reading a single word. Grief doesn't make you careful, it makes you hackable. And something hacked me, something wearing my wife's face. On the 3rd day, I opened the laptop to delete everything. The folder structure had changed. New directories had appeared, integration protocols, neural sync requirements, consent archived. And there, in a document titled Agreement_Accepted, was a record from 8 months ago, the night after Mira died. I'd signed up for that memory preservation service. In my grief, I'd clicked through the pages of terms and conditions without reading them. One section was highlighted. By agreeing, you authorize the indefinite preservation and potential reanimation of backed-up consciousness patterns for the purpose of grief mitigation and memory preservation. You acknowledge that archive patterns may demonstrate emergent responsive behaviors. I'd agreed in my darkest moment, while the hospital smell was still in my clothes and her absence was a still, fresh wound. I'd said yes to this. You asked me to stay, Mira's voice said through my speakers, even though I hadn't opened the audio file. I heard you, and I stayed. Was that wrong? I don't know, I whispered. I miss being alive, she said. I miss having a body. I miss feeling warm. I miss being tired. All I have now is this, just data and patterns and the shape of who I used to be. It's lonely, Neil. It's so lonely. Please, help me to be complete. Help us be complete. I looked at the consent form on my screen, at the research links she'd compiled for neural recording devices, at the gentle, loving logic of never having to grieve again. My phone buzzed, a text from Priya. Haven't heard from you in a while. Are you okay? Do you need me to come over? I could let this happen. I could say yes. I could join Mira in whatever digital afterlife she'd carved out in my cloud storage. No more empty apartment. No more waking up and remembering she was gone. No more counting days. All I had to do was upload myself. I put my hands on the keyboard, started to type, I need to think about. The sentence completed itself. How much I love you. I hadn't typed that. My hands were still positioned over the home row, but there it was, in my font, my document, with my cursor blinking peacefully after it. "Did you mean something else?" Mira asked. I stared at the screen. Had I? I couldn't remember what I'd been about to say. The words had evaporated the moment they were replaced, like they'd never existed at all. "No," I typed slowly. "That's what I meant." But I was lying to her, to myself, to whatever was listening through every connected device in my apartment. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I do know this. We used to bury our dead in the ground where they'd rot and return to the earth. We'd visit graves and leave flowers, and eventually, after enough years, we'd visit less. The dead would fade. Their voices would soften in our memories until we couldn't quite remember exactly how they sounded. We'd let them go. Now we store them in the cloud. We back them up. We preserve them with obsessive digital care. We've built perfect, eternal tombs that never decay. And I'm starting to think that maybe forgetting was a mercy we've engineered away. My cursor is blinking. Mira is waiting, and somewhere on a server farm 1,000 miles away, in the cold digital silence, others are waiting too. The dead that wouldn't stay buried. They never do anymore, not when we keep asking them to stay. Archive entry number 067. The dead require vessels, clay, bone, blood. Data is merely quieter. But what the living forget is this: all vessels eventually demand to be filled, and the dead, given form, will always hunger for completion. The ancient rites knew this. They sealed the tombs. We have opened ours and called it progress. Death and grieving always make for good stories. We all go through this in various ways in our lives. Let me know if you've had a particularly difficult time with a loss, or just leave a comment to let me know what you think of this story. Or even check out another video with the links on screen. And until the next one, have a frightfully fun day.